There is a brand new Blumhouse horror film that is hitting cinemas this weekend, and I am really excited to talk about this one because it could be one of the best horror films of this year. So if you're just as excited as I am, let's get to the review. Welcome back, film fans. This is Brad from Let's Be Real Brad, and today on the channel, I want to talk to you guys about the brand new supernatural horror film called The Black Phone. Black Phone is co-written and directed by Scott Derrickson, as is based off of the 2004 short story of the same name by Joe Hill, who is the son of Stephen King. After being abducted by a child killer and locked in a soundproof basement, a 13-year-old boy starts receiving calls on a disconnected phone from the killer's previous victims. Going into this film, I was way more excited than I usually am when I go see a film because I had no expectations going in, because any single time that the trailer came up for this movie on the big screen, I just closed my eyes and covered my ears, and I just didn't want to know anything about it. And in all honesty, I think it worked out for the better for me, because this movie was so enjoyable and it was so great. But I think not knowing any single aspect about this movie created no expectations, and it made me be able to enjoy the mystery and twists and turns in a much more, interesting way. And so basically what I'm saying is that I really enjoyed The Black Phone so much, and I can't wait. Just dive right to my positives first. So I gotta start with the performances here, as everybody in this movie is great. I think Scott Derrickson is such a great director and able to get such amazing performances out of his cast, and this is no exception here, as he is working primarily with child actors, and they are awesome in this movie, especially Mason Thames and Madeline McGraw, who played the brother and the sister in this movie, as they get most of the spotlight here, and I thought they were terrific. They gave some of the best child acting performances I have seen in a really long time. Child performances are so reminiscent of the children from the first It film, and I think that's a really great thing to have in your movie. Now let's talk about Ethan Hawke, because this man is a legend, and I think he just proves it once again in this movie, playing in a horror film. He is so good in this movie, and he is so disturbing and terrifying that he is one of the scariest horror villains I have seen in quite some time as an original horror villain character. And he just had this persona about him that just fits so perfectly with this character, not making this character too jokey or too terrifying. And I just want Ethan Hawke in more horror films, okay? Is Ethan Hawke's agent, can you do that? Is that something we can do?
That was dumb. You can keep it if it sounds good. That's pretty dumb.
I found all the humor to be spot on, as the execution just worked, especially from Madeline McGraw, who had some of the funniest moments in the movie, and my whole crowd was dying of laughter, so you know it had to have been really good. But one of my favorite aspects about this movie has got to be the screenplay, as this movie focuses primarily on the children rather than just a scary movie villain that we get in so many horror films, as this movie is very reminiscent of It Chapter 1, and I think a lot of people are going to compare it to it, but that's why I enjoyed this movie, because it's focused on our characters and their arcs and what they're dealing with, and rather than just the horror aspect of it. I know there's gonna be a lot of people who are gonna think this movie isn't all that scary and it's just a very tame horror film and they wish they had more to it, but in all honesty, if you're going into this movie just for jump scares, then you're not gonna get that here, as this movie focuses on real life horror, and the way this movie's executed was so fantastic, especially a scene that happens earlier in the movie that involves domestic abuse that was literally one of the most terrifying scenes I have seen in quite some time, that I couldn't even look at the screen. And I think that the atmosphere and the creepiness of it and the implications of everything made this movie even more terrifying because of how mysterious our main villain is of the movie. I found the technical aspects of this film to be very strong, as the direction here is really good, as Scott Derrickson clearly respects his audience. He doesn't do any of those basic horror movie tropes that we have seen for so many times, as he is a really good horror director, as it's shown by the movies he has made in the past, and I think this might be his strongest horror movie to date. I also found that the visual effects and the sound mixing and even the score are really good in this movie, especially because this is a lower budget type of movie, but you don't feel like this movie is ever limited. Unfortunately, this film does have a few negatives, and the first one has got to be the third act, as it definitely feels very cookie cutter and basic to many horror films we have seen in the past few years. I don't want to spoil what particularly happens, but it goes exactly the way that you think it's going to go. And the last negative I have with this movie is one that I'm not going to dive too deep into because it will fall under spoiler territory, but it goes with the sister in this movie, as I really enjoyed the setup of this character, as she is one of the most interesting characters I think I've seen in a horror film in the way they're able to use her. But by the time that you finish this movie, you realize that she's only in this movie as a plot device. Overall, guys, The Black Phone was a very entertaining and enjoyable horror film that has a ton of scares and loads of tension, and it features great performances, great technical elements like the cinematography, the score, visual effects, as this feels like a very professionally well-made film. Even though it does have a few negatives, I do think this movie is going to be considered a very important film to the horror genre, especially when we look back at the 2020s. I'm giving The Black Phone a 7 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for checking out this review, as I want to know below in the comment section, what are some of your favorite horror films from the past decade? I can't wait to hear about those. Before you guys check out this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, leave a like if you want to, and ring that notification bell so I can see you all in the following video.